hundreds of millions of Americans know. Why do our elected officials put us at such risk? We can't survive $20 trillion of outstanding public debt. We must balance the budget now. It's going bankrupt if it's not bankrupt already. If we don't fix it now, some of the wisest people we saw knew that it would change forever. J.P. Morgan, the largest bank in the United States of America and in the world, has recently attempted to settle with the U.S. government for $13 billion to pay for some of the shenanigans that happened prior to 2008 and the financial crisis. If you combine that with their $1 billion fine last year and the $6 billion they lost in the quote-unquote whale trade, you're talking roughly $20 billion of losses over the last 2 years, or nearly a third of their net income. All of this from 2008 to today shows how big and impossible to manage the banks have become. The 6 largest banks in America at one point in 2008 had about 37% of the Americans' assets, your assets. Today, after all the laws and Dodd-Frank laws and all the regulation, they have 67%. 6 banks, 67% of Americans' assets. The other 6,300 and change banks have the other 33%. This is outrageous. Banks this big are very inefficient. They are too big to fail. They're too big to jail. No one's really going to jail yet so far from these big banks. We need to do 2 things and do them now. 1, no bank can have over 1/2 of 1% of the assets of the American people. That way banks will be small. 2, Glass-Steagall, a law passed in 1933 or so to separate banks from investment banks, was brought back in 1999 so that banks and investment banks merged. In fact, the one I work for merged with a bank. This has to be stopped. Investment banks end up running the banks. They take too much risk, and they basically tried to bring down the American financial system. And we spent trillions of dollars now effectively bailing them out. That has to stop. So 1 solution, the banks need to be smaller, much smaller, so they have less leverage, less lobbying power. And 2, Glass-Steagall has to be brought back, break the banks and the investment banks apart, let the investment bankers take a lot of risk, blow up their own firms, and bankers can come at 5 after making loans to people that they basically know.